The alarm screamed through the small repair shop at 3 in the morning. Daewon jerked awake from his cot in the back room, his heart pounding. The warning system only made that sound for one reason. Something big was coming in too fast. He rushed to the observation window and pressed his face against the cold glass. Outside, against the backdrop of stars and the distant blue glow of the nebula, he saw it. A massive ship, easily 10 times the size of his entire orbital station, was spinning out of control. Fire and sparks shot from its hull. It was coming straight toward him. "Hana, wake up!" Daewon ran to his daughter's small bedroom. The 6-year-old girl sat up, rubbing her eyes. Her stuffed bear fell to the floor. "Daddy? What's wrong?" "We need to get to the shelter, sweetie. Right now." He scooped her up in his arms and ran. The station shook as the alien vessel crashed into the landing platform outside. Metal screamed against metal. The lights flickered and went out. Emergency red lighting kicked in a moment later. When the shaking stopped, Daewon set Hana down in the shelter and checked the damage reports on his old computer screen. Surprisingly, the station's structure was intact. The alien ship had hit the reinforced landing pad designed for cargo haulers. "Lucky. Stay here," he told Hana. "Don't come out until I come back for you." "But Daddy?" "I'll be fine. I promise." Daewon grabbed his tool belt and emergency medical kit. He pulled on his environment suit and helmet, then cycled through the airlock. The landing platform was a mess. Debris covered everything. The alien ship sat there like a dying whale, its hull cracked and bleeding atmosphere into space. He found an emergency hatch on the side and forced it open with a crowbar. Inside, the ship was dark except for flickering emergency lights. Everything was huge. The corridors were built for beings much larger than humans. Daewon felt like a child walking through an adult's house. He followed the sound of groaning metal deeper into the ship. In what looked like a command room, he found her. She was enormous, at least 9 feet tall, even lying down. Her skin was a deep purple-blue color with silver markings that seemed to glow faintly. She wore armor that looked both ancient and incredibly advanced. Blood, dark red, almost black, pooled beneath her. Daewon's hand shook. He'd never seen an alien in person before. Few humans had. Earth was far from the major trade routes, and his station was even more remote. But she was injured. That was what mattered. He opened his medical kit and got to work. The basics were the same for most species. Stop the bleeding, stabilize the patient, keep them warm. He used foam bandages to seal the worst cuts. He injected her with broad-spectrum antibiotics designed for alien biology. He wrapped her in thermal blankets from the ship's emergency supplies. She didn't wake up, but her breathing became steadier. Over the next hour, Daewon dragged her, with great difficulty, to a more stable part of the ship. Then he went back outside to assess the damage to her vessel. It was bad. Really bad. The main power core was cracked. The navigation systems were fried. 3 of the 4 engine pylons were completely destroyed. By all rights, this ship should never fly again. Most mechanics would call it scrap and salvage what they could. But Daewon wasn't most mechanics. He'd kept his aging station running for 8 years on almost no budget. He'd learned to fix things that shouldn't be fixable. He'd learned to be creative. He went back inside and checked on the alien woman. Still unconscious, but stable. Then he returned to his station and found Hana peeking out of the shelter. "Is the bad thing over?" she asked. "Yes, sweetie. Everything's okay now." "What was it?" "A ship crashed." "There's someone hurt." "I need to help them." Hana's eyes went wide. "An alien?" "Yes, can I see?" "Not yet. Let's get you some breakfast first." Over the next few days, Daewon fell into a routine. He'd make breakfast for Hana, get her started on her lessons. They couldn't afford school, so he taught her himself. Then he'd work on the alien ship. In the evenings, he'd check on the alien woman, change her bandages, and make sure she was still stable. The ship was a puzzle. The technology was far beyond anything humans had developed, but the principles were the same. Engines created thrust, power cores generated energy, navigation systems plotted courses. Daewon just had to figure out how each piece worked and find a way to fix it. He couldn't afford new parts, so he got creative. He used components from old satellites that floated near his station. He repurposed systems from his own repair shop. He even used parts from his personal shuttle, knowing he was stranding himself but not caring. Hana started coming with him after a few days. The alien woman still hadn't woken up, and Hana was curious. She'd sit in the corner of the command room, drawing pictures while Daewon worked. She's pretty, Hana said one day, looking at the alien woman. Like a warrior princess from my stories. Maybe she is, Day-One said, not really paying attention. He was trying to reroute power through a secondary system. Hana started leaving her drawings next to the alien woman. Pictures of stars and flowers and smiling stick figures. She'd also bring food, crackers, juice boxes, fruit. Even though Day-One explained the alien probably couldn't eat human food. But she might be hungry when she wakes up, Hana insisted. On the 7th day, Day-One made a breakthrough. He'd managed to repair one of the engine pylons using a combination of the ship's original parts and components from an old mining drone. It wasn't pretty, but it should work. He was celebrating this small victory with a cup of coffee when he heard Hana scream. He dropped the cup and ran to the command room. His heart stopped. The alien woman was awake. She was sitting up, towering over Hana, one massive hand raised, but she wasn't attacking. She was looking at one of Hana's drawings, the one with 3 figures, a tall one, a medium one, and a small one, holding hands under a yellow sun. The alien woman looked at Day-One with eyes that were entirely black except for silver pupils. Her expression was unreadable. Then she spoke. Her voice was deep and musical, but the words were in a language Day-One didn't understand. Hana, brave little Hana, held up another drawing. This one showed a big purple figure lying down and 2 small figures helping. The alien woman looked at the drawing for a long moment. Then she carefully, gently reached out and touched the top of Hana's head with one finger. She spoke again, softer this time. Still incomprehensible, but somehow Day-One understood the meaning. Thank you. He let out a breath he didn't know he'd been holding. Maybe, just maybe, this would be okay. The alien woman was named Velika. At least that was the closest Day-One could pronounce it. She'd pointed to herself and made a sound that was part word, part melody. After several attempts, she'd accepted his simplified version with what might have been amusement. Communication was difficult at first. Velika spoke dozens of languages, but none of them were human languages. However, she was clearly intelligent. Within 2 days, she'd learned basic words by pointing at objects and listening to Day-One name them. Within a week, she could form simple sentences. Ship broken, she said, gesturing at her vessel. You fix? I'm trying, Day-One said. It's difficult. The technology is very advanced. Velika tilted her head, considering. Then she stood and walked to the ship. Day-One and Hana followed. Inside, Velika pointed at various systems and began to explain. Her words were halting and simple, but combined with gestures and diagrams she drew in the air with a holographic tool, Day-One began to understand. The ship wasn't just advanced, it was ancient. Tens of thousands of years old, but maintained and upgraded countless times. The power core used a type of energy humans hadn't even theorized yet. The hull was made from a material that could repair itself, given time and the right conditions. I thought it was broken forever, Day-One admitted, looking at the cracked power core. I was trying to replace it with something simpler. Velika made a sound that might have been a laugh. Not replace, heal, she showed him how. The core wasn't truly broken, it was injured. It was in some way Day-One didn't fully understand alive, or at least it responded like something alive. With the right energy input and careful treatment, it would regenerate. Day-One stared at her. That's impossible, Velika smiled. Her teeth were sharp, but her expression was warm. Humans say impossible. Humans still fix ship. Which is truth. She had a point. Working together, they made progress much faster. Velika couldn't do the delicate repair work. Her hands were too large and she was still recovering from her injuries. But she could explain the systems, hold heavy components, and provide the theoretical knowledge Day-One lacked. In return, Day-One showed her something she'd never seen before. Human improvisation. When they needed a part that didn't exist anymore, he built one from scrap. When a system required a rare element, he found a substitute that worked almost as well. When the ship's computer needed recalibration, he wired in his own station's navigation system as a temporary backup. Velika watched him work with fascination. How you learn this? Necessity, Day-One said, not looking up from the wiring he was connecting. When you don't have money for proper parts, you learn to make do. Make do? Use what you have. Be creative. Velika was quiet for a moment. Where I'm from, we buy new. If broken, throw away. You humans, different. We can't afford to throw things away, Day-One said. We're not rich. Rich not always mean wise, Velika said softly. As the days passed, Velika became part of their routine. She was careful around Hana, clearly aware of how large and strong she was compared to the small human child. But Hana was fearless. She'd climb on Velika's shoulders and pretend the alien woman was a friendly monster from her storybooks. Velika seemed charmed by this. She'd walk around the station with Hana on her shoulders, ducking carefully through doorways. She'd listen to Hana's stories with what appeared to be genuine interest. She'd even started learning human games, though her size made most of them comically difficult. One evening, Daewon found them sitting together in the station's small observation room. Hana was teaching Velika how to draw with crayons. No, Hana said patiently. You're pressing too hard. Gentle like this. Velika's massive hand carefully held the tiny crayon. She drew a shaky line on the paper. It broke the crayon in half. Hana giggled. It's okay. Try again. Velika looked at the broken crayon, then at Hana, then at Daewon. Her expression was complicated. Sad, maybe, or wistful. You good father, she said to Daewon. Hana lucky. Thank you, Daewon said. He hesitated, then asked, Do you have family? Someone who's worried about you? Velika's expression closed off. Yes, many people, but she struggled for words. They worry for wrong reasons. Not worry because they love. Worry because they need. Daewon understood that feeling better than he wanted to. Before his wife died, before he'd moved to this remote station, he'd worked for a big company. They'd valued him only for what he could produce. When his wife got sick and he needed time off, they'd threatened to fire him. He'd left instead, took his daughter and his savings and bought this small station at the edge of nowhere. It was lonely sometimes and money was always tight, but at least he was free. I'm sorry, he said. Velika shook her head. Not your fault. Not your problem. But the way she looked at him suggested she was grateful for his sympathy anyway. As the repairs continued, Velika began helping with other things around the station. She was incredibly strong. Repairs that would have taken Daewon hours with hydraulic lifts, Velika could do with her bare hands. She could reach high places without a ladder. She could hold heavy objects steady while Daewon welded them. She also turned out to be good at problem solving. When the station's water recycler broke, she looked at it for 5 minutes, then rearranged some components in a way that made it work better than it ever had. Where did you learn that? Daewon asked, amazed. I learned many things, Velika said vaguely. Travel many places. Daewon got the sense she was avoiding something, but he didn't push. Everyone had secrets. He had his own. His wife's death hadn't been from natural causes. There'd been an accident at the factory where she worked, an accident the company had covered up. That was another reason he'd left. Some truths were too painful to speak aloud. One night after Hana had gone to bed, Velika and Daewon sat together in the observation room. The nebula outside glowed blue and purple, beautiful and vast. Ship almost ready, Velika said. Maybe 5 more days. Daewon felt a strange pang in his chest. Sadness, he'd known this day would come. Velika had to leave eventually. But he'd gotten used to having her around. Hana had too. Where will you go? He asked. Velika was quiet for a long time. Home. Must go home. People wait for me. Will we see you again? She turned to look at him. Her black eyes with their silver pupils reflected the nebula's glow. I not know, maybe. Universe is strange. Brings people together in unexpected ways. That's true, Daewon said. He thought about how unlikely this whole situation was. Of all the places in the galaxy Velika could have crashed, she'd ended up here. At his station, where a human mechanic just happened to have the skills and creativity to repair her impossible ship. Maybe it was fate, or maybe it was just luck. Either way, he was grateful for it. Daewon, Velika said carefully. You good person. You help me when you not have to. You ask nothing in return. This is rare. Very rare. It's just being decent, Daewon said, uncomfortable with the praise. No, Velika said firmly, is more than decent. Is kind, is selfless. Where I from, people not do this. People always want something. What kind of place is that? Daewon asked. Velika smiled, but it was sad. Complicated place. Beautiful and terrible. Powerful and broken. She didn't elaborate and Daewon didn't ask. They sat together in comfortable silence, watching the stars. Neither of them knew that in 5 days everything would change. Neither of them knew that Velika's people were coming. Neither of them knew that the quiet, simple life they'd built together was about to be shattered. For now, they just sat together, two beings from different worlds, sharing a moment of peace. The repairs were nearly complete. Daewon stood back and looked at Velika's ship with pride. It wasn't perfect. He could see where he'd improvised, where human technology had been grafted onto alien systems. But it would fly. It would get her home. "You did good work," Velika said, standing beside him. Over the past 3 weeks, she'd learned to speak much better. Her accent was still thick, but she rarely struggled for words anymore. "We did good work," Daewon corrected. "I couldn't have done it without you." Velika smiled. She did that more often now. When she'd first woken up, she'd been stern and distant. Now she seemed almost relaxed, happy even. Hana came running up, her backpack bouncing. She'd been helping by bringing snacks and drawing more pictures. The inside of Velika's ship was now decorated with dozens of crayon drawings taped to the walls. "Are you leaving tomorrow?" Hana asked, looking up at Velika with big, sad eyes. Velika knelt down, bringing herself closer to Hana's height. She was still much bigger, but the gesture was kind. "Yes, small one, I must go home." "Will you come back?" Velika hesitated. I don't know. My home is very far away, and my duties are complicated." "What duties?" Hana asked. "Hana, don't pry," Daewon said gently. "Is okay," Velika said. She looked at Hana thoughtfully. "I have responsibilities. Many people depend on me. I have been gone for a long time. They worry." "But you'll miss us, right?" Hana asked. Velika's expression softened. She reached out and gently touched Hana's cheek with one large finger. "Yes, I will miss you very much. Both of you. You give me something I not have in long time." "What?" Hana asked. "Peace," Velika said simply. That night they had a special dinner. Daewon used the last of his good food supplies to make something nice. Velika couldn't eat most human food, but she'd discovered she liked certain fruits and vegetables. They sat together at the small table, Velika on the floor because she was too large for the chairs, and shared their meal. "What will you do when I'm gone?" Velika asked. Daewon shrugged. "Same as before, I suppose. Fix ships, teach Hana, try to keep the station running." "You make good money here?" Daewon laughed. "No, not really. Most ships don't come out this far. I get maybe 1 or 2 jobs a month, but the rent is cheap and we manage." Velika frowned. "You deserve better. You have great skill." "Skill doesn't always equal success," Daewon said. "But I'm happy enough. I have Hana. I have my work. That's enough." Velika looked like she wanted to say something more, but she stayed quiet. After dinner, after Hana had gone to bed, Velika approached Daewon. She held something in her hand, a small device that glowed with soft light. "I want you have this," she said. "Is communication device. If you ever need help, if you ever in danger, you press here." She showed him a button. "I will come. No matter where I am, I will come." Daewon took the device carefully. It was warm in his hand. "Velika, this is too much." "Is not enough," Velika interrupted. "You saved my life. You ask nothing. This is small repayment." "I didn't do it for repayment." "I know. That is why I give it." She placed her large hand over his smaller one, enclosing both him and the device. "You are a good person, Daewon. Universe needs more people like you." Daewon felt his throat tighten. "Thank you. For everything. For helping with the station. For being kind to Hana. For being our friend." "You are my friend too," Velika said. "First real friend I have in very long time." They stood there for a moment, the weight of goodbye hanging between them. Then Velika stepped back. "I should rest. Tomorrow will be long day." "Good night, Velika." "Good night, Daewon." But the next morning, everything changed. Daewon woke to alarms again. But this time, it wasn't a crash. It was the proximity alert. Something big was approaching. No, many big things. He rushed to the observation window and felt his heart stop. Ships, dozens of them, hundreds of them. They appeared out of nowhere, dropping out of faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. Each one was massive, bristling with weapons and glowing with power. They surrounded his tiny station like wolves surrounding a rabbit. "Daddy?" Hana's voice was small and frightened. Velika appeared from her ship, moving fast. She looked at the fleet outside and her expression went blank. Not surprised, resigned. "I'm sorry," she said. "I hoped I have more time." "What is this?" Daewon demanded. "Who are they?" Before Velika could answer, a massive hologram appeared in the middle of the station. It showed an alien woman who looked similar to Velika but with harder features and more scars. She wore armor that looked like it was made from stars. "Princess Velika," the woman said in a voice that made the whole station vibrate. "Your absence has been noted. The council demands your return immediately." "Princess?" Daewon stared at Velika. She wouldn't meet his eyes. "Commander Nari," Velika said to the hologram, "I am preparing to return. Give me one more day." "No more delays," Nari interrupted. "You have been missing for 23 days. The coronation was postponed. Trade agreements are in limbo. 3 systems are threatening rebellion. Your presence is required now." "Coronation?" Daewon whispered. The hologram's eyes shifted to him. Daewon felt pinned by that gaze, like an insect under glass. "Who is this human?" Nari demanded. "He is the one who repaired my ship," Velika said. "He saved my life." Nari's expression didn't change. "Then he will be compensated. We will transfer funds." "He doesn't want money," Velika said sharply. "Everyone wants money. He is different." Nari studied Daewon through the hologram. He felt like he was being evaluated and found wanting. Finally, she spoke again. "Princess Velika, we are deploying a shuttle to collect you. Please be ready in 1 hour." The hologram vanished. Silence filled the station. Hana tugged on Daewon's sleeve. "Daddy, what's a princess?" Daewon couldn't answer. He was staring at Velika, really seeing her for the first time. The way she carried herself, the quality of her armor, the power in her stance. How had he not seen it before? "You're a princess," he said. It wasn't a question. "Yes," Velika said quietly. "Not just a princess, a powerful one. Those ships outside, that's an entire fleet. A military fleet. Yes. And you let me. You let us." Daewon couldn't finish the sentence. He felt strange, dizzy. The woman he'd been sharing meals with, the woman who'd been playing games with his daughter, could command fleets, could probably buy entire planets. "I didn't let you do anything," Velika said. "You chose to help. I didn't deceive you. You didn't tell me the truth either." "Would you have treated me differently if you knew?" Velika asked. There was something vulnerable in her voice. "Would you have been my friend?" Daewon wanted to say yes. He wanted to say it wouldn't have mattered, but he wasn't sure that was true. Royalty, real royalty with real power. That was terrifying. That changed everything. Before he could answer, Hana walked up to Velika. The little girl looked up at the massive alien princess without fear. "You're still nice," Hana said. "Even if you're a princess. You're still the same Velika who played with me." Velika's eyes shimmered. Daewon realized with shock that she was crying. Not loud, not dramatic, just silent tears running down her face. She picked Hana up gently, carefully, and held her close. "Thank you, small one. Thank you for seeing me. Not the crown, not the power. Just me." Daewon felt his anger drain away. Velika hadn't been deceiving them. She'd been hiding. From responsibility, from expectations, from a life that clearly hurt her. "I'm sorry," he said. "I shouldn't have." "No," Velika interrupted, setting Hana down. "You have right to be angry. I should have told truth, but I was. She struggled for the word. Selfish. Here with you I could pretend. I could be just Velika. Not Princess Velika of the throne hegemony. Not ruler of 300 star systems. Not heir to 10,000 years of history. Just Velika. Outside, a shuttle was approaching. It was small compared to the warships, but still large enough to swallow Daewon's entire station. Their time was up. The shuttle docked with the station. Through the window, Daewon could see dozens of soldiers in gleaming armor filing out. They moved with military precision, weapons at the ready. It was overwhelming. Commander Nari was the first to enter the station proper. She was slightly smaller than Velika, but somehow more intimidating. Her armor was covered in markings that Daewon assumed were awards or battle honors. She looked at Velika and gave a formal bow. Your Highness, it is good to see you alive. Thank you, Nari, Velika said. Her voice had changed. It was more formal now, more distant. The warm, friendly tone she'd used with Daewon and Hana was gone. Nari's eyes swept over the station with barely concealed disgust. You have been living here? In this primitive facility? It is not primitive, Velika said sharply. It is honest, clean, simple. It is beneath you. That is not for you to decide. The two women stared at each other. Daewon got the sense this was an old argument between them. Finally, Nari spoke again. The council has prepared your flagship. Your advisors are waiting. The coronation ceremony is scheduled for... An alarm blared. Different from before. This was the combat warning. Nari's expression changed instantly. She barked orders in a language Daewon didn't understand. The soldiers around her moved, weapons coming up. What is it? Velika demanded. Hostile ships, Nari said, her hand on her weapon. The Raketh clan. They must have tracked our fleet here. How many? At least 30 vessels. They're coming in fast, Velika cursed in her own language. Get everyone to safety now. Your Highness, you need to board the flagship, after everyone else is safe. Nari looked like she wanted to argue but didn't. She turned to her soldiers. Evacuation protocol. Move the humans first. Two soldiers approached Daewon and Hana. They were trying to be gentle, but they were huge and intimidating. Hana clung to Daewon's leg, terrified. It's okay, sweetie, Daewon said, trying to sound calm. They're just going to take us somewhere safe. But what about Velika? Hana asked. Velika knelt down. I will be fine, small one. I am hard to kill. You go with them, okay? Be brave for your father. Hana nodded, tears in her eyes. The soldiers led them toward the shuttle. Daewon looked back at Velika. She was strapping on weapons now, transforming from the gentle friend he'd known into something else, something dangerous. They'd almost reached the shuttle when the first explosion hit. The station shook violently. Alarms screamed. Lights flickered. Daewon grabbed Hana and held her close, trying to protect her with his body. They've breached the outer defense. Someone shouted, Get the princess out of here, Nari commanded. But Velika wasn't running. She was heading toward the breach. Velika, no, Daewon shouted. She didn't listen. She moved with incredible speed, her weapon, some kind of blade that glowed with energy, in her hand. Through the window, Daewon could see enemy ships approaching. They were smaller than Velika's fleet, but faster, more aggressive. The attackers breached the station. They came through the walls, cutting with lasers. They were aliens too, but different from Velika's people. Shorter, more reptilian, with armor that looked like it was made from black metal. The first one to enter the station lifted its weapon toward Daewon and Hana. It never got to fire. Velika appeared like lightning. Her blade cut through the attacker's weapon, then through the attacker itself. She moved to the next one, then the next. She was faster than Daewon's eyes could follow, stronger than anything he'd ever seen. She wasn't just fighting. She was dancing. Every movement was precise, efficient, beautiful in its lethality. In less than a minute, a dozen attackers lay dead at her feet, but more were coming. Get them to the shuttle. Velika roared. Nari and her soldiers formed a protective circle around Daewon and Hana, moving them forward. But the path was blocked now. More attackers poured in, and Velika couldn't be everywhere at once. One of them got through. It ran straight at Hana, blade raised. Daewon didn't think. He just moved. He grabbed a piece of metal debris from the floor and swung it as hard as he could. It hit the attacker's arm, knocking the blade off course. The blade still cut Daewon's shoulder, but it missed Hana. The pain was incredible, hot and sharp. But Daewon didn't let go of his daughter. Velika appeared and ended the attacker. Then she was there, her hands surprisingly gentle as she checked Daewon's wound. "You're hurt," she said. Her voice was different again, scared. The formal princess mask had cracked. "I'm fine," Daewon lied. "Protect Hana. I protect both of you," and she did. Velika stood over them like a living shield, her blade moving in arcs of light. Nothing got past her. The other soldiers formed a defensive line, and slowly, step by step, they pushed forward to the shuttle. They'd almost made it when the second explosion hit. This one was worse. The station's hull cracked. Atmosphere began venting into space. Alarm screamed about pressure loss. "Seal the breach," Nari commanded, but it was too late. The breach was too big. In seconds, the entire section would be exposed to vacuum. Velika made a decision. She grabbed Daewon and Hana, holding them both against her armored chest. Then she ran, not toward the shuttle, toward her own ship. "Your Highness, wait," Nari shouted, but Velika was already moving. She was faster than seemed possible, covering the distance in seconds. She threw Daewon and Hana into her ship, then sealed the door behind them just as the station section depressurized. Through the viewport, Daewon could see the battle raging. Velika's fleet was engaging the attackers now. Massive ships firing weapons that lit up space like new stars. The enemy ships were being destroyed, but they were doing damage too. Velika moved to the ship's controls. Her hands flew over them with practiced ease. "What are you doing?" Daewon asked, still holding his bleeding shoulder. "Getting you somewhere safe," Velika said. "Hold on!" The ship's engines roared to life. Daewon felt the acceleration push him back. They were moving fast away from the battle. "But your people can handle this without me," Velika interrupted. "You are more important. More important than you leading your fleet?" "Yes." The certainty in her voice stunned Daewon into silence. They flew for what felt like hours but was probably only minutes. Finally, they reached one of the massive warships in Velika's fleet. The ship opened a bay and Velika piloted them inside. Medical teams were waiting. They swarmed Daewon immediately, treating his wound. Hana clung to him, crying now that the danger had passed. Velika stood apart, speaking rapidly with Nari, who had apparently made it to the flagship safely. "Reckless," Nari was saying. "You put yourself in danger for my friends," Velika said firmly. "They are under my protection. They are humans, primitives. They are not worth—" "Enough!" Velika's voice cracked like thunder. "You will not speak of them that way. Daewon saved my life. He asked nothing in return. He showed me kindness. That is worth more than all the titles and power in the galaxy." Nari fell silent, shocked. Velika took a breath, calming herself. "How many casualties?" 17 wounded, none dead. The enemy has been repulsed. And the station? Damaged but repairable." Velika nodded. She walked over to where the medics were finishing with Daewon. His shoulder was bandaged now, the pain reduced to a dull throb thanks to alien medicine. "I'm sorry," Velika said. "This is my fault. If I had revealed who I was sooner, if I had returned to my people immediately, the attack never would have happened." "How is it your fault that someone attacked us?" Daewon asked. "The Raketh clan are my enemies. They tracked my fleet here. They hoped to kill me while I was vulnerable." She looked pained. "They hurt you because of me." Daewon thought about that. Then he reached out and took her large hand in his smaller one. "Velika, you saved us. You could have run to safety, but you came back for us. That's what matters." "I promise to protect you," Velika said. "I keep my promises." Hana, who had been quiet, suddenly spoke up. "Are you leaving now?" Velika knelt down to Hana's level. She looked at the little girl for a long moment. Then she looked at Daewon, then at Nari, then at the grand ship around them with all its power and majesty. "I don't know," she said finally. "I have responsibilities. A coronation. Systems that depend on me. But I also have—" She struggled for the words. "I have people who matter to me. People who see me as more than a crown." "Your Highness," Nari said carefully. "The council can wait," Velika finished. "For a little longer. They have waited this long. They can wait while I think." She stood up, her decision made. "Get Daewon and Hana quarters on this ship. The best ones. Make sure they have everything they need." "Your Highness." "That is an order." "Commander." Nari bowed stiffly and left. Velika looked at Daewon and Hana. Her expression was unreadable, conflicted. "Stay here tonight," she said. "Rest, heal. Tomorrow I will decide what comes next." The quarters they were given were enormous, larger than Daewon's entire station. The bed was soft enough to float on. The bathroom had water that sparkled and smelled like flowers. Everything was made from materials Daewon had never seen before, beautiful and obviously expensive. Hana fell asleep almost immediately, exhausted from fear and adrenaline. Daewon tucked her in, kissed her forehead, and stood by the window looking out at the stars. They were moving now. He could feel it, a subtle vibration through the ship. Moving toward what, he didn't know. Velika's homeworld, probably. A place so far away and so different from anything he'd known that he couldn't even imagine it. There was a soft knock on the door. "Come in," Daewon said. Velika entered. She'd changed out of her battle armor into simpler clothes. She looked tired, sad. "How is your shoulder?" she asked. "Better. Your doctors are amazing. They should be. I pay them enough." She tried to smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. They stood in silence for a moment, both looking out at the stars. "I have to go home," Velika said finally. "The council has been patient, but they won't wait forever. 300 star systems need a leader. Trade agreements need to be signed. Disputes need to be settled. I have responsibilities." "I understand," Daewon said, and he did. He'd always known this would happen. Velika was never meant to stay. "But I don't want to go," Velika continued, her voice breaking slightly. "For the first time in my life I was happy. With you and Hana, fixing ships, eating simple meals, drawing with crayons. I was just me. You can still be you," Daewon said. "Being a princess doesn't change who you are inside, doesn't it?" Velika asked. She turned to face him. "When I am home, I must be perfect, strong, never showing weakness, never making mistakes. I must think of millions of people before myself. I must marry someone I don't love for political alliance. I must smile at people I hate and negotiate with those who would kill me if they could." Daewon heard the pain in her voice. "That sounds lonely." "It is," Velika whispered. "So lonely. I have guards and advisors and servants, thousands of people around me all the time, but no friends. No one who sees Velika. Only Princess Velika." She sat down on the floor, her back against the wall. Despite her size and power, she looked small in that moment. Vulnerable. Daewon sat beside her. "What do you want, Velika?" "Not what everyone else wants. What do you want?" Velika was quiet for a long time. When she spoke, her voice was barely audible. "I want what you have. A simple life. Meaningful work. Someone who needs me for who I am, not what I can give them." She paused. "But that is impossible dream."
"I am who I am."
"I cannot change that." "Maybe you don't have to," Daewon said. "What do you mean?" "You're a princess. You have power. Why can't you use that power to change the rules?" Velika looked at him. "It is not that simple." "Why not?" "You're in charge, aren't you?" "In theory. But in practice there are traditions, expectations, councils and advisors who have done things certain ways for thousands of years. They resist change. So resist back," Daewon said. "You're the one with the crown. Not them." Velika smiled sadly. "You make it sound easy. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm saying it's possible." He took her hand. "Velika, you saved our lives today. You're strong enough to fight armies. Surely you're strong enough to fight tradition." "Fighting armies is easier," Velika said. "Armies are honest. They want to kill you. Tradition is subtle. It kills you slowly, piece by piece, until you forget who you were." "Then don't forget," Daewon said. "Hold on to this time. Remember that you're more than a crown." Velika looked at him with those black eyes. How do I hold on?" "However you can. Take time for yourself. Find people who see the real you. Don't let them force you into a box. And if they insist, then you're in the wrong place," Daewon said. "Life is too short to spend it being miserable. Even for a princess." Velika laughed, a real laugh. "You are very wise for someone who lives in a small station." "I've had time to think," Daewon said. "Not much else to do out there." They sat together in comfortable silence. Outside, the stars streamed by. Inside, two people from different worlds shared a moment of understanding. Finally, Velika spoke. "I have an idea. It is probably crazy. Nari will hate it. The council will protest, but..." She looked at Daewon with something like hope in her eyes. "What if I don't take the crown? What if I give it to Nari? She would be a good ruler. Better than me, maybe. She knows politics. She knows war. She knows how to lead." Daewon considered that. Would she want it? Probably not. but she would do it if I asked. Velika stood up, pacing now. I could travel, explore, learn, see the galaxy without the weight of 300 star systems on my shoulders. What would you do? Velika stopped pacing and looked at him. Maybe I could learn to be a mechanic. You could teach me. We could work together. Day One felt his heart skip. Velika, are you saying? I'm saying I want to stay, Velika said. If you will have me. I know I am large and I eat a lot and I will probably break things by accident. But I am a good worker. And I promise I will not be any trouble. You're a princess, Day One said. You'd be giving up everything. I'd be gaining everything, Velika corrected. A real life. Real friends. Real purpose. What is being a princess compared to that? Day One thought about what she was offering. It was insane. It would never work. The council would never allow it. Velika's people needed her. But when he looked at her face, at the hope and fear and desperate longing there, he couldn't say no. Okay, he said. Yes, stay. Velika's smile was like the sun coming up. She grabbed him in a hug that lifted him off his feet. Thank you. Thank you. You will not regret this, I probably will, Day One said, but he was smiling. But let's do it anyway. The next morning, Velika called a meeting with her senior advisors. Day One and Hana were there too at Velika's insistence. I have made a decision, Velika announced. I will not take the crown. The room erupted. Advisors shouted. Nari looked shocked. Everyone was talking at once. Velika raised her hand and silence fell. I name Commander Nari as my successor. She will be crowned in my place. She has the strength, the wisdom, and the experience to lead. I have faith in her. Nari stood up. Your Highness, I cannot— You can, Velika said firmly. You will. Not because I command it, but because our people need you. They need someone who will put duty first. That is you, not me. And what will you do? Nari asked. I will travel. I will learn. I will live. Velika looked at Day One and Hana. I will be happy. The advisors protested more. They argued. They pleaded. They even threatened. But Velika stood firm. She'd made her decision. Finally, Nari spoke. If this is truly what you want, sister, then I will support you. But know this, you will always have a place with us. If you ever wish to return, you will be welcomed. Thank you, Velika said. That means more than you know. 3 weeks later, Velika stood on the repaired station looking at the finished repairs. Day One's station now had some upgrades, courtesy of Velika's wealth, but it was still recognizably the same small, honest place it had always been. Velika had stayed for Nari's coronation. She'd watched her sister take the crown with pride and relief. Then she'd packed her few belongings and returned to the station. She'd brought money. Enough to rebuild. Enough to expand. Enough to ensure Day One and Hana would never struggle again. But more importantly, she'd brought herself. So, Day One said, handing her a tool belt. Ready to learn how to be a mechanic? Velika took the belt and strapped it on. It looked comically small on her large frame. Ready, got first lesson? Never force a bolt. If it doesn't turn, you're doing something wrong. Wise advice. Can it apply to life too? Absolutely, Hana came running up excited. Velika, can we draw later? I want to teach you how to use the colored pencils without breaking them. I would like that very much. Small one. As the three of them walked into the station together, Velika felt something she hadn't felt in years. Peace, joy, belonging. She was no longer Princess Velika of the throne hegemony. She was just Velika, mechanic's apprentice, friend, part of a family, and that was worth more than all the crowns in the galaxy. A ship approached in the distance, signaling for repairs. Their first customer, Day One, looked at the signal and smiled. Well, partner, ready for your first job? Velika smiled back. Ready, they got to work. 3 beings from different worlds building a life together. It wasn't a fairy tale ending. There would be challenges. There would be hard days. Velika would always be recognized sometimes, would always have enemies, would always carry the weight of what she'd given up. But she'd also have this, the simple joy of working with her hands, the warmth of friendship, the love of a found family, and sometimes that was the greatest treasure of all.